What's going on, guys? We are Tottenham TV here, back again with another video for you guys, and today we're going to be looking at how Pierre-Emile Højbjerg is going to change our midfield, how he's going to change our team, and we're going to analyse his statistics, comparing him to our other current central midfield options, how he stacks up defensively. Does it make sense that he's going to be our new defensive midfielder for the coming season, and did the stats back up what people have been saying about him, that he's really going to be the answer to our midfield problems? Everyone knows, if you ask any Tottenham fan over the past couple of years, what has been our biggest issue in the team, and 9 times out of 10 people will probably say our midfield. What we used to have in midfield, the strength, the stability, the defensive ability, is just completely gone. We don't have that anymore. What we used to have in Dembele and Wanyama, 2 guys who are really strong. They used to bully the opposition. They used to take the games by the scruff of the neck, and whenever we were out of possession, you'd always rely on them to be able to win the ball back and able to give it to our more creative players. Ever since Dembele's left especially, and I think for sure it's been an issue ever since Wanyama has been out of the team, we have not had this at all. Tottenham have been bullied in a lot of our games. We don't seem to be able to make tackles. The tactical fouls we used to make is completely gone, and we just don't have any steel or any strength in the central midfield. And we've been calling out for someone in midfield to be able to put some steel and some strength in there, and ability to put a foot in. And the options we have at the moment haven't cut it. And defensively, we've had no protection for the back four, and we've had no one in central midfield who isn't going to be bullied by opposition central midfielders. Now, we've been calling for this, and looks like we might have found our answer with Hojbjerg coming in for 3 million from Southampton, 3 million plus Kyle Walker-Peters going the other way, and it's come to much fanfare. So let's analyse defensively. Is he the answer to our midfield options compared to what we already have? How much of improvement is he defensively, and how does he stack up to previous defensive midfielders such as Victor Wanyama that we've had? Well, looking at the stats here, if we look at the stats, how Højbjerg stacks up against our current central midfield options, in terms of tackles he makes per 90 minutes, Højbjerg leads the way in 2.4 tackles per 90 minutes, and he attempts 4 per game, which is 9th in the whole Premier League, and it's a lot better than any of our other central midfield options. The next best is actually Lo Celso at 1.6. So Lo Celso, out of all our midfield options, makes the most tackles, which, seeing as he was bought as an attacking midfielder, shows what an adaptation he's made to the Premier League in his game. But Højbjerg is nearly 1 tackle more than all our other central midfield options, and in terms of attempted, he attempts a lot more tackles than any of our midfield options. In terms of interceptions, 1.5 per game, which is 13th in the Premier League, and the next best is Winks, is at 1.2, so he leads the way in that sense as well. He makes a lot of interceptions in the middle of the park. In terms of fouls that he commits, this is quite an interesting stat, because Højbjerg commits 1.4 fouls per game, which is 15th in the whole Premier League, which is second in our squad compared to Sissoko in our midfield options. But he only picked up 4 yellow cards throughout the whole of last season, compared to Harry Winks, who commits a lot less fouls at 0.8 fouls per game, but has picked up 9 yellow cards. And Lo Celso has also picked up 6 yellow cards. So both picking up more yellow cards, Winks and Lo Celso, than Højbjerg did, even though Højbjerg commits more fouls, which tells you that his ability to commit fouls in central midfield, clever fouls, without picking up cards, his ability to foul without picking up cards is a lot better than any of our midfield options, which means he's smarter, and he's doing fouls in better areas and less dangerous areas than our other midfield options, which is a massive thing for us. For sure, we used to commit a lot of tactical fouls in the opposition half when we were pressing high up the pitch, and that's completely gone. I remember it came to a head when we played Southampton in the FA Cup, when we won 3-2, when Redmond was able to run the whole pitch without being challenged from any of our midfield options. No tactical fouls was even attempted, and Southampton ended up scoring and winning the game. And I remember against Wolves as well, that was another case where it was going round where more runs going into our half, and we weren't able to commit any tactical fouls. Højbjerg is clearly going to bring that back into our game, and he makes a lot of clever fouls and good fouls in less dangerous areas, which takes pressure off the team. And in terms of aerial duels won as well, Højbjerg sits at 1.7, 14th in the whole league, which is one more than the next best in the Tottenham squad. That's Sissoko at 0.7, so he wins a lot more headers in central midfield than any of our other midfield options. And passes blocked as well in the middle. Højbjerg sits at 1.2 per game, which is 5th in the whole Premier League, compared to the next best for us, which is actually Ndombele at 0.8. So a blocked pass is just a pass which has been a passing lane which has been blocked, and possession has been won back in the central of the park. So Højbjerg is 5th in the Premier League at that. We've all seen the famous stat, ball recoveries. Højbjerg tops the Premier League. The amount of balls recovered from loose touches in the centre of the park, Højbjerg is top of the whole Premier League for that. So he clearly is tenacious in that midfield. And these stats really back up what a lot of Tottenham fans have been hoping for in terms of the signing of Pierre-Emile Højbjerg, in terms of what he could bring to the midfield, in terms of the difference in his ability defensively compared to what we have already. And he's clearly on another level defensively. And even comparing him to what we used to have in, say, Victor Wanyama in defence midfield. If you look at the amount of tackles per game, Victor Wanyama used to make, in Victor Wanyama's best season, 16-17, he made 2.5 tackles per game. Højbjerg currently sits at 2.4. And if you look at interceptions, Wanyama currently was at 0.8. Sorry, if you look at interceptions, Wanyama was at 1.1. Højbjerg currently sits at 1.5 interceptions per game. If you look at passes blocked, Victor Wanyama was at 0.8. Højbjerg is at 1.2. So his stats, especially defensively, definitely stack up against our best defence midfielder of the past few years, and he definitely stacks up better against most of our central midfield options. And he seems to be at the higher end when comparing to his compatriots in the Premier League for all those defensive stats. He's only top maybe in a couple, maybe in the top 10 in a few, but he's definitely in the top 20 for the majority of those stats, which shows he's kind of a jack of all trades. He's kind of very good at each attribute defensively, and he's got a few standout stats, but most of all, on average, he's quite solid in most of them. And not only that, if you look at on the ball statistics, although it's not as good as I think our other central midfielders that we currently have are better on the ball than he is, he's still no slouch. In terms of accurate long passes, Højbjerg currently sits at 3.2, which is more than any of our current options. The next best is Winks at 2.5. And at key passes, he's level top with Lo Celso. A key pass is defined by a pass which leads to a chance or a shot on goal. And Hojbjerg for Southampton currently is 0.9 last season, and our best was Lo Celso at 0.9. So that shows that he has some ability on the ball, although his passing accuracy is only 78% compared to our other midfield options, which vary from 85% to 90%. So he's a bit down on that, although he does attempt more passes than our other midfield options. I believe Højbjerg is going to play a slightly different role for Spurs than he did for Southampton in the majority of games. For Southampton, he kind of played in a double pivot in a 4-4-2 formation, and he had a lot more responsibility on the ball, and he had a lot more responsibility to create chances and to get forward. He's not going to have as much responsibility in that respect for Tottenham. For Southampton, actually, his the amount of times he lost possession, which was actually quite staggering, 8.3 inaccurate short passes, which is extremely high. Last season, our highest midfielder for inaccurate short passes was Musa Sissoko at 4.7. So that's double almost. Højbjerg has almost double the amount of inaccurate short passes as our next best. So clearly he has a lot of work to do on the ball. Clearly he can improve in that. But in terms of off the ball, his defensive ability is just another level to what we currently have. It shows a skill set that it's completely separate to what we currently have. Our players are currently pretty good on the ball when you've got someone like Ndombele, Lo Celso, Winks, who have high passing accuracy, especially with Ndombele, who has a high dribbling accuracy. He has the highest amount of successful dribbles in the squad at 1.8. If you add Hojbjerg to that, it's going to completely revolutionise what we have in midfield. And I think we've seen recently, especially in other teams in the Premier League, how much one signing can change the whole team and the whole dynamic of a team and really be the final piece in the jigsaw. We've seen with Man United, with the signing of Bruno Fernandes, what a difference he has made in midfield, what a difference he's made to Manchester United. Although he's only one player, he's really been the difference for Man United in terms of linking midfield to attack and being able to be that missing link that Man United need. And he's completely changed the fortune since he's come in. Man United have been on an incredible run. He's really changed how they attack, and I think this could be the same for us. With Højbjerg, he could really change how we attack, how we defend especially. He could really provide that protection, that steal we've been crying out for the past few years in midfield. The stats back it up. How we could line up with Højbjerg in our team, there's a few ways. We could either play with obviously a 4-3. It adds to more tactical flexibility. We can play a 4-3-3 formation with Ndombele and Lo Celso in the 3, or obviously with Winks and Sissoko also coming in. They could provide competition there, but with Højbjerg sitting deep, it could allow someone like Lo Celso and Ndombele to really take the shackles off and really allow us to dominate possession more in games. When you have someone like Ndombele who's so good at dribbling, more successful dribbles than anyone in the team, and so when he's unlikely to lose the ball from that standpoint, and you have someone like Lo Celso who's able to make contributions in the final third, create chances, also a very good dribbler, also he's dispossessed very few times per game. When you have that protection of Højbjerg in the middle, it allows them to maybe get forward a bit more, contribute a bit more in the final third, allow them to get the ball down on the deck and not just look for counter-attacks. When the reason, in my opinion, a big reason why Tottenham was so pragmatic at the back end of last season, although it wasn't just to improve our defensive record, I think a big reason was we knew if we were committing too many players forward in possession, and if we were to be dispossessed or losing possession, there is just no protection for the back four. We didn't have anyone in the middle who we trust really to recover the ball and to make interceptions, and there's no real midfielder who we know who's positionally going to be in a position to mop up in the central midfield and recover the ball effectively and efficiently. And now with this signing of Højbjerg, as we can see defensively by these stats here, he recovers the ball a lot more, he makes a lot more tackles and a lot more interceptions, so he's really going to revolutionise how we can line up in midfield. And I think on that note, we're going to see Tottenham have a lot more games with Højbjerg in the middle, where we have a lot more possession, and we're not just going to be counter-attacking. I think we'll have games, especially against a low block team, where we'll be able to dominate possession and have people like Lo Celso and Ndombele contributing a lot further up the pitch, with the knowledge that we have that protection in the back four. Also, when we line up with a 4-2-3-1 with Dele Alli in that kind of behind the striker role, if he is to play there, if we play Højbjerg and say Lo Celso in the middle, in that double pivot which Højbjerg has been used to at Southampton, he can play that role. We know that when we play teams who have a low block, we know that if we give Dele Alli a free role without as much pressure to track back as he would be with our other midfield options we had last season, he could really start contributing a lot more in the final third in that free role. Maybe we'll get to see the Dele Alli we used to see, because Dele Alli under Pochettino, when he was playing up front with Kane, his best seasons was that season in 16-17 when we had Dembele and Wanyama in the centre. He knew that he wasn't under as much pressure to track back all the time and waste as much energy defensively, and that's when he was able to contribute in that free role, make late runs into the box, find that movement. And if we could get back to that Dele Alli, it could unlock so much more potential in our team than would be when Dele Alli's playing and is expected to track back as much as he was when we're playing these other central midfield options in the centre. So I think also when we play 3 at the back as well, it could be it could be another thing we could think about with 3 central midfield, 3 centre backs and then Højbjerg controlling the midfield and allowing the fullbacks to get a lot further forward, and the wing backs and provide a lot more width, knowing that Hojbjerg is there to mop up if Tottenham were to lose the ball. That could be another option for us. So I really think this Hojbjerg signing could really revolutionise what we have in midfield, could really revolutionise how we set up and how we approach games. And the stats back it up that he is definitely what we're looking for. He's a massive difference compared to what we have. He's a massive improvement defensively for what we have. And finally, also compared to the other defensive midfielder, our last good defensive midfielder in Victor Wanyama, his stats definitely stack up against him as well. So Højbjerg really is potentially the signing that could unlock all our midfield options, could really unlock the potential of this team. And that's why a lot of Tottenham fans are very excited by his signing. The stats back it up. Let me know in the comments below. Are you excited by the signing? Could Højbjerg be the signing that we need? How do you see us lining up next season? And do you think he is the signing to unlock the real potential of this team? Like and subscribe if you like this content. And as always, come on you Spurs.